Hey guys, thanks for joining me on another video. If you like my videos and you find them helpful and useful, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and notify yourself of any future videos. Today, let's talk about contractual insurance requirements. If you're a contractor, if you're in the construction industry, you've seen contractual requirements. They're part of your contract in almost every situation. And a lot of times we find that contractors get tripped up on the insurance requirements. They don't properly plan for them. They don't understand what they are. They don't read them. They don't project them into their bid. And then they're left with less profitability at the time that the job completes or during the project term, and they don't understand why. Stick around to today's video. We're going to go over some contractual requirements that you need to look out for if you're in the construction industry. Hey guys, I'm Mike, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you contractual insurance requirements for construction industry professionals. Now, if you're a contractor, I don't care what trade you're in, you have a list of requirements that you need to fulfill either before you get on a project or, in a worse situation, before you get paid for the work that you've performed, the materials that you've supplied, and the labor that you've paid for on your job. There's nothing worse than when it comes time to collect the payment and the GC or the builder or the project manager or whoever it may be that hired you says, we can't pay you now because we don't have proper insurance on file. Nobody likes when that happens. So what we do at our agency, and I think our clients can attest to this, is we like to look at those requirements for our clients before they start the project. As part of their certificate of insurance needs, they list the information, they upload their requirements so we can take a look. Now, we're not going to look at the contract itself because we're not lawyers and we don't read contracts. But when it comes to the insurance portion, the indemnification, the requirements of the job to start the project, and like I said, get paid on the job or complete the job, we like to look those over, make sure our clients comply with what they need. Let's do a little screen share and let's start to take a look. And what I did was I collected requirements that I found were pretty strict, pretty stern. So there's a lot on this one. Not all of them are going to be as strict as this. Not all of them are going to have as many requirements as this. So don't get scared. But I wanted to pull this one so that we can go through each line item and talk a little bit about what it means, what it is, and what to look out for. So if you take a look at my screen, this company does a really good job of taking all of those contractual requirements from their contract for their clients, for their subcontractors. And this is great because it shows everything in one place. So when we get sent something like this one, we can go through it pretty simply. We don't have to pick everything out of the contract. Now, in a lot of cases, it's going to be in the contract. So don't expect that you're going to have something spelled out for you like this. Don't sign the contract until you understand the requirements and that you know that you meet them. If you're bidding and you have to go out and purchase more insurance, now you just shoot into your profits. You didn't include that in your bid. Now you don't know how much the job's really going to cost you to perform. So make sure you read and look for those. But like I said, in this one, nice and straightforward. They provide a sample, as you can see here on the first page. I blacked out all of our insured's information, all of the third party's information. But as you can see, they provide a sample, which is nice. Top left is the insured, which I blacked out. Top right, carrier requirements. In a lot of cases, the contractor that's hiring you is going to require a certain level or certain size of the insurance company. In this case, A-, which is excellent or higher, and then level 8 in terms of financial size. That's not bad. You know, sometimes we see requirements of A- or higher, and then a 10 or 11, sometimes even 14. So that's not too hard to attain. When you start going through the sample, you'll see general liability is marked off and they require it on an occurrence basis. Not many general liability policies nowadays for contractors are going to be on a claims made basis. So not something to concern yourself too much there because most liability policies for contractors are going to be written on an occurrence policy. You'll see that the general aggregate applies to the project. Per project aggregate is an endorsement in the policy that you need to make sure that you have. You know, they're providing that limit of coverage on the aggregate for that project in particular. This way, the person that's hired you knows that that aggregate limit can't be exhausted on other projects. On the right hand side, you see that they listed the limits. Pretty easy to read. Those are pretty straightforward limits. This next section, you get to the auto liability. In the auto liability, people get tripped up by this all the time. It shows any auto coverage. I'm not necessarily sure why in this case they put an X next to all owned, hired, and non-owned, because when you have symbol 1, which is any auto, you automatically get coverage for 8 and 9, which is the higher and the non-owned auto. Also $1 million limits. People get stuck on this all the time. Any auto coverage, symbol 1, is not guaranteed, meaning your insurance company might not provide you symbol 1. You got to make sure you check that before you sign your contract, because if you need any auto and you have an insurance company that doesn't provide any auto, now you have to go out, remarket, and potentially repurchase auto insurance. It's going to cost you more money. You need to know that before the project starts. Workers' compensation is next. Statutory limits are in California, $1 million. Nothing too surprising there. Let's scroll down. They show the certificate holder. Any agent or representative is going to know how to list that properly. I X'd out some of the requirements there because that shows the name of the third party additional insured. But you see 30-day notice of cancellation required. That's important because not all general liability carriers or not all carriers are going to allow the 30-day notice by endorsement. What does that mean? That means that the carrier is going to provide a 30-day notice of cancellation to the additional insured if the policy is going to cancel for any reason. And normally they're not going to send a 30-day notice every time a non-payment of premium occurs. But for any other reason, they're going to supply that 30-day notification to the additional insured. Not all carriers want to take on that responsibility. Not all carriers have that endorsement available on their policy. So make sure you look out for that. Now, under general liability, additional insured applies to general liability. Pretty simple stuff. Most general liability carriers have automatic status for additional insured. So your representative can easily pull out that additional insured and supply it to the third party. It says here, please confirm on the certificate or by uploading an endorsement that waiver of subrogation applies to the policy. Most general liability policies for contractors that we write now will have automatic status or automatic waiver of subrogations included. So that shouldn't be too difficult. Same goes for the next line item, primary and non-contributory wording. And then of course, the next line item, the additional insured endorsement. Now you can see at the very bottom, please provide a copy of the primary and non-contributory endorsement in addition to the certificate of insurance. So they want you to pull it out of the policy. Same with the waiver. The next line, very important. Please provide copies of the additional insured forms for both ongoing and completed operation. And here they list the CG 2010-1185 or CG 2010 and CG 2037 or equivalent in addition to the certificate. That is not standard on most policies. Now, if you're a contractor and you're specializing in commercial work, you're normally going to have the CG 2010-1185 or the 2037 with the 2010 to meet the needs of the ongoing and completed operations in favor of the additional insured. But if you're a contractor that's performing residential, especially if it's new residential, I guarantee you are not going to have those endorsements automatic on your policy. Okay, you're going to have to go back to the insurance company and request that those endorsements be scheduled. Why? Because the insurance company is now providing the additional insured the right to claim against the policy for completed operations, not just ongoing operations. So not just during the policy term that you're doing the work, but also the term after applies. Okay, so completed operations, very important. CG 2010-1185, if you don't have it already in your policy, same with the 2010 and 2037, could cost you additional money. Make sure you check with your agent beforehand to make sure that you can obtain those. Not all carriers, depending on the type of project, are going to give you this. They don't want to broaden their coverage that much. Again, it looks like they want a scheduled waiver of subrogation. So they actually want the additional insured listed on the waiver. That could cost additional premium, sometimes $250 or a percentage of the premium. Make sure you ask your agent. Automobile liability. Additional insured applies to automobile. A personal auto policy will not provide additional insured status. We too often find that contractors are driving their trucks around on a personal auto policy. It's not going to work. You're not going to get the additional insured status. You're certainly not going to get symbol 1, and you're not going to get the $1 million limits. So if you have a personal auto policy, you're trying to get on a job such as this one, you're going to need to transfer that into a business auto policy. Could be more expensive, could take more time, could delay you on the project or getting paid. They also want waiver of subrogation, primary and non-contributory wording on the auto policy. Any auto or owned, hired, and non-owned autos will be accepted. I told you before, symbol 1 gets you all owned, hired, and non-owned auto. Not all carriers like symbol 1. If you're not an entity, if you're not a corporation, a partnership, an LLC, I'd be shocked if you can get symbol 1 from a business auto carrier. If you're an individual, if you're operating your construction business as an individual or sole proprietor, you're most likely not going to get symbol 1. Here, they'll accept symbol 1 or 7, 8, and 9. But you have to make sure you have non-owned and hired auto on there, which you really should have that anyway. If you're in the construction business or any business for that matter, and you have an automobile exposure where you're using autos in the line of business and so are your employees, you should have hired and non-owned auto anyhow. And I talk about that on my YouTube channel. Super important. Make sure you have it, but you need it for this job, as you can see. The last policy listed here, the workers' compensation. Most people, from what we see from clients coming to us, they don't have the blanket waiver of subrogation on their workers' compensation policy, which if you're in the construction industry, you should have that because you're going to be required to provide the waiver of subrogation on your jobs when you're working with general contractors or other contractors that have risk management departments that understand insurance requirements, that are doing larger projects. They're going to want you to have the waiver of subrogation. The waiver of subrogations cost money, whether on a blanket basis or specific basis. Again, look over your requirements. That's something that you want to pick out and say, okay, here's something that can cost me some premium dollars. Do I have it? How much is it costing me? And do I need it to add it? If not, besides that, pretty straightforward on the work comp. So we went through this sample. We talked about the requirements of your general liability, business automobile, and workers' compensation. Here's a few other types of policies that we're seeing more and more often are required by contractors on larger jobs that you need to keep in mind before you bid. Number 1, pollution liability, becoming more and more common. It will cost you additional premium if you don't have it. Number 2, builder's risk risk or installation coverage. And 3, and a big one, is umbrella insurance or excess liability. If you need umbrella, that marketplace as of today is extremely costly and very tight, especially if you need to exceed your business auto coverage. Business auto is a large exposure for carriers. And then if you want to put an excess on top of that, carriers don't want to do it. They don't want the exposure, and they're going to charge you money for it. And it's going to be substantial dollars. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful. I hope you look out for these types of requirements next time you're signing a contract. You look through it. Again, not all are going to be pretty and in one place like this contractual insurance requirement document that I showed you, but you need to look out for it. Get your agent involved if you need help. If you need our assistance, we look at these all day long. We've been doing it for many, many years. Give us a call, 858-384-1506, or email hello@foagency.com, or you can go to our website. We have a live chat option, and I'm usually on there, so I like to talk to clients or potential clients through our live chat. I find it really helpful, useful. Thanks again for watching. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for your support. Hope this video was helpful. See you on another one very soon. Take care.